Alright guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the next growth leg for Micron stock. Because not only is Micron stock up 450% from the April lows, but it's also trading at a 10 times forward PE, right? So a lot of people are saying, oh, this is undervalued because it's 10 times PE. And there's also a lot of people saying, oh, it's overvalued because it's 10 times peak earnings PE, right? So I'm gonna explain a bit about that later. But all you need to know about Micron stock is there's one camp which is very bullish and there's one camp which is very bearish, right? And in the middle, there's basically no one, right? So without further ado, let's take a look at Samsung's preliminary earnings, right? These are not the actual earnings, just preliminary earnings. And you can see that this analyst expects Samsung's recovery to be overwhelmingly memory driven. It forecasts operating profit growth in the memory segment to accelerate from 64% year over year in 2025 to 317% in 2026, right? Noting that semiconductor division should account for 55% sale and a whopping 90% of the operating profit, right? So you can see that these memory segments are right now are very, very profitable, right? So the only question we really have to ask is 2026 the peak year earnings for this Micron and SK Hynix and also Samsung, right? Or is it going to pull off a Nvidia moment where Nvidia used to be seen as an extremely cyclical stock, but right now they are not viewed so much as a cyclical stock anymore, right? Because every 1 or 2 years they have a new product which refreshes the product cycle, right? Is this what's going to happen to the memory players? And this is what we're going to be exploring today also, right? So you can see this CNBC article also expects DRAM memory prices to rise between 50 and 55%, right? And HBM, we were talking about it the other day, it's forecasted to rise 60 to 70% in just the first quarter of 2026, right? So I think it's quite safe to say 2026 for Micron will be very, very good, right? But we have to realize that the stock market is forward looking, right? So if we know that 2026 is going to be very good, as they said, it's all sold out, there's no memory for anyone to buy, then we have to presume that the stock market has already incorporated that into the price, right? And it's so ironic that we were talking about Nvidia because Nvidia kicks off the next generation of AI with Rubin, right? 6 new chips, one incredible AI supercomputer, right? And you should see the scale of this thing is actually massive, right? And this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because Nvidia is selling one huge rack, right? With 72 packages. You can read through this, right? I'm not going to read through it, but the most important part is look at the amount of RAM that they're going to be using, right? 20,736 terabyte of HBM4 RAM, right? And you already know that OpenAI, Meta, Microsoft are already lining up to buy all this, right? Especially the hyperscalers and CoreWeave and all the data center place, right? They're already lining up to buy all these machines, right? So we know obviously there's going to be huge amount of demand for these Rubin GPUs, right? And they just came into production just about 1 week ago, right? Jensen Huang mentioned that they were already doing it, so we don't know when they started producing, but I would say not more than 1 quarter, right? Because if not, they'll probably report it in the last quarter's quarterly earnings report. So next, we're just going to watch Jensen Huang's presentation, at least a very small part of it. I actually watched the whole video, but this is the most relevant, I feel, in this whole video, right?
EV cache, basically the cache of the AI, the working memory of the AI. And the working memory of the AI is stored in the HBM memory. Every single token, for every single token, the GPU reads in the model, the entire model. It reads in the entire working memory, and it produces one token. And it stores that one token back into the KV cache. And then the next time it does that, it reads in the entire memory, reads it, and it streams it through our GPU, and then generates another token. Well, it does this repeatedly, token after token after token, and obviously, if you have a long conversation with that AI, over time, that memory, that context memory is going to grow tremendously. Not to mention the models are growing, the number of turns that we're using the AIs are increasing. We would like to have this AI stay with us our entire life and remember every single conversation we've ever had with it, right? Every single lick of research that I've asked it for. Of course, with the number of people that will be sharing the supercomputer is going to continue to grow. And so this context memory, which started out fitting inside an HBM, is no longer large enough. Last year, we created Grace Blackwell's
So just a quick pause, right, before I forget it. What is he essentially saying? That he's essentially saying we're gonna need more memory than we have the capacity for right now, right? So it used to be that everything that they needed was able to fit in one HBM. I don't know what they call it, right? Maybe it's just called the HBM thingy. I have no idea, right? But now it's not like that anymore, right?
Fast memory, we call fast context memory. That's the reason why we connected Grace directly to Hopper. That's why we connected Grace directly to Blackwell, so that we can expand the context memory. But even that is not enough. And so the next solution, of course, is to go off onto the network, the north-south network, off to the storage of the company. But if you have a whole lot of AIs running at the same time, that network is no longer going to be fast enough. So the answer is very clearly to do it different. And so we created BlueField-4 so that we could essentially have a very fast KV cache context memory store right in the rack. And so I'll show you in just one second, but there's a whole new category of storage systems. And the industry is so excited because this is a pain point for just about everybody who does a lot of token generation today. The AI labs, the cloud service providers, they're really suffering from the amount of network traffic that's being caused by KV cache moving around. And so the idea that we would create a new platform, a new processor, to run the entire Dynamo KV cache context memory management system and to put it very close to the rest of the rack is completely revolutionary. So this is it. This is...
Okay, I just want to point out how big these machines are, right? Imagine you run a data center. You're not going to have one of these, right? You're going to have like 10 or 20 of this, right? And I think one of these will cost a lot of money, right? They haven't revealed how much it is.
It sits right here. So this is all the compute nodes. Each one of these is NVLink 72. So this is Vera Rubin, NVLink 72, 144 Rubin GPUs. This is the context memory that's stored here. Behind each one of these are 4 BlueFields. Behind each BlueField is 150 terabytes of memory, context memory. And for each GPU, once you allocate it across, each GPU will get an additional 16 terabytes. Now, inside this node, each GPU essentially has 1 terabyte. And now, with this backing store here, directly on the same east-west traffic, at exactly the same data rate, 200 gigabits per second, across literally the entire fabric of this compute node, you're going to get an additional 16 terabytes of memory, okay? And this is the management plane. These are the Spectrum X switches that connects all of them together. And over here, these switches at the end connects them to the rest of the data center. Okay? And so this is the Vera Rubin.
Okay, so I think for this memory video, this is all we're going to watch from Jensen Huang, right? So this was a great presentation. If you want to understand Nvidia and where they're heading and also where the chip sector is heading, you really do need to watch this like whole video, right? But for the sake of this video, since we're just Micron investors, just take a look at this, right? And this all totals up to the 20,000 terabytes of HBM4 memory, right? And this is one of these racks, right? Imagine like Meta and all, how many racks are they going to be ordering, right? So this new product released by Nvidia is why I believe they will be the next growth driver for Micron and also Micron stock, right? Because I bet they're going to do a lot of business, and this will also absorb a lot of capacity, right? Because we know that Micron, SK, and Samsung are coming up with more capacity, right? Because right now they have over demand, right? Too much demand, not enough supply. But if they continuously add supply, but there's no extra demand, at some point in time there will be extra supply and not enough demand. Therefore, the prices have to come down, right? But with this product being released, maybe the timeline is pushed back, right? Imagine if because of this Vera Rubin, that's another 1 year, right? And then maybe next year they're going to release another product which requires even more memory, right? So this could be potentially how Micron goes from a cyclical stock where we are having boom and bust cycle to something more sustainable, right? And if Micron becomes like a sustainable business model, then obviously they won't have this crazy like PE shifts and then boom and bust cycles, right? they'll probably have like a 20 PE and a more stable growth rate, right? Because of Nvidia and all these chip companies that need a lot of memory. So in the next video, I'll be talking about how much this whole rack will generate in revenue for Micron and also SK Hynix or whatever company supplies the memory chips, right? So if you're interested to see that video, of course, you know what to do, right? So what's the next catalyst I'm looking out for? It's SK Hynix's earnings, right? So we are going to take a look at SK Hynix earnings, and these are the few catalysts that we have to keep in touch with every quarter, right? Anytime Nvidia does something, SK Hynix earnings, Samsung earnings, and Micron earnings, right? So we take a look at all these things because it can give us some indication as to where Micron and Micron stock is heading also, right? Because we don't want to be like Micron investors, then we say, oh, we only care about Micron, right? Because apparently the competition doesn't matter. And in this sector, it's much easier because they announce everything publicly and there's only 3 big players, right? So you know roughly what's happening by just following 3 players. If you have a market with like 20 players, then it's much harder to track, right? Because one player can come up with some innovation, right? Now we're just tracking 3 companies, even though we're only invested in one of them. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to share today. If you did enjoy the video, do help me smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the bell button. With that being said, have a fantastic day ahead and peace out.